Greetings, boys and girls. This is Tim Ferriss. Welcome to the Tim Ferriss Show. In this episode, we have two incredible guests and friends of mine. We have Kelly Starrett, who is a performance coach, athletic mastermind. He is one of the co-founders of SF CrossFit, which was one of the first 50 CrossFit affiliates, and his clients include Olympic gold medalists, Tour de France cyclists, world and national record-holding Olympic lifting and power athletes, Cross Games medalists, ballet dancers, you name it, special forces. He has also worked with me when I was doing training and research for the 4-Hour Body. We go back quite a ways. He is a monster. He can do a standing backflip, run an ultramarathon, and can also, I think, power clean 300 plus pounds. He's a beast. And then the other person we have joining us, or joining me, joining you guys, is Dr. Justin Mager, who's been my personal doctor and go-to performance doc for several years now. Many years, in fact, and he is an MD. He also has background in exercise physiology, and when it comes to performance enhancement or living an optimal lifestyle and not just getting your recommended daily allowance and surviving, he is my go-to man. And of course, as it would have it, in SF, Kelly and Justin know one another, so we had a bunch of wine and decided to mind meld, and that is this episode of the Tim Ferriss Show. I apologize for the background jazzy Euro music, but I am currently in Verbier, Switzerland for the first time. I highly recommend it. Looking out at the mountains here, no better place to record an intro, and I hope you enjoy the show. Thanks for listening. Optimal minimal.
At this altitude, I can run flat out for a half mile before my hands start shaking.
Can I answer your personal question?
Now would seem an appropriate time.
What if I did the opposite?
I'm a cybernetic organism, living tissue over metal endoskeleton.
We are fucking live at Casa Ferris. And this is the first podcast threesome that I've dared to venture into. But I've two fine gentlemen, two scholars and gentlemen, Kelly Starrett, Doctor, Professor Justin Mager. And yes, I've been fucking with the audio, and it took me so long that we've already had 2.5 glasses of wine on empty stomachs, but I think this is going to be a good session. It's an experiment, like everything else. So it'll take us a little while to get past the awkward formality of this extremely clumsy podcast intro. But Kelly, for those who don't know you, who is Kelly Starrett?
Dancer. Well, you can't see on the the podcast that these are my real calves. That's right.
Even through the table, I can feel them pulsating.
That's true.
Engorged calves.
We started. People may know me because I showed up a little bit in 4-Hour Body. Mm-hmm. That's when we first
did.
You sent a tweet out in the universe. Mm-hmm. You know, I need some deadlifting help. We kind of went down the rabbit hole a little bit on that.
I have tight quads. My back is bent out of shape.
Weird how that works.
Yeah.
You're a male athlete. Check the box.
Yeah.
You know, our handle is @MobilityWOD. Uh-huh. We started a little project in open source. Why doesn't everyone know how to fix themselves? Yeah. Which is what I'm, sitting here with Dr. Major, which is so good.
And we have this like Bermuda Triangle
for sure.
Of knowledge sharing. We've all known each other for a while.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting is the shift for me, as we kind of were gearing up and talking about this, is the shift away from personally around performance. I've sort of been obsessed and a performance whore for as long, let's lift more, let's go faster. It was always our proof of concept. You're in a better position. Let me show you because you can generate more wattage.
Correct.
But I have to be honest. I feel like that's this 1%, and that the people we need to be talking about are moms and dads, people who are in pain, how to prevent this stuff in the first place. These are the bigger conversations.
Now, you're co-founder, co-creator, co-conspirator of SF CrossFit.
Yep. With my wife, Juliet.
That's right. Sweetheart, and can probably outlift me also. And as well as your, how old? 5-year-old?
I have an 8-year-old and a 5-year-old.
Yeah, I think your 5-year-old can also out front squat me.
Can I jump in just for 1 second?
Yes, you may.
60 Minutes has been following us around for since October. And they were like, hey, can you show...
October? That's a long time. That's a lot longer than 60 minutes. I had to pull it because everyone gives me the 4-hour shit.
Oh, do they really? Yeah. How funny how that works. Yeah. I don't know how many hours they're going to use, but the best moment for me was we have they're like, hey, can you show proof of your concept with correspondence? I was like, no problem. Let's let's do something easy like picking something up. So here's this bar. Everyone should be able to bend over, keep your back flat. Everyone agrees you shouldn't round your back when you pick something heavy, right? Well, that actually is easier said than done. Mm-hmm. And so, of course, she just rounds and rounds and rounds, and we're just teaching her, hey, you just got to be able to lift and reach into the crib without rounding your back, pick up your baby.
Just hit her with the birch stick.
Basically. Zazen. And she couldn't do it. And on camera, everything's there, live. And I was like, well, why don't we pull in an athlete who can do it? Mm-hmm. So I was like, Georgia, my 8-year-old, comes right in, it must be my daughter, doesn't even flinch on camera, like producers, microphones, but just deadlifts it up. I mean, it's like 25, 30 pounds, not a big deal, but and then she kind of looks at the correspondence like, wow, like, what's your problem? and literally you can see the producers back from me like, that's good TV. Such good TV. Anyways, I have daughters who, we don't want them to be professional athletes. I'm interested to get your takes on this. If you could have a kid and we'll ask this later on, but would you let them be athletes?
It's a great question. Well, we'll come back to that.
We'll come back.
Because, I think that's a big topic.
Yeah.
It's an important topic. But before we do that, part 3 of this amazing trilogy. Dr. Mager, Dr. J, and Justin, we've known each other for a while. You've been my doctor, for many different things, helped me review blood tests and all the ridiculous various masochistic things that I do to myself.
Correct.
What appealed to me about your background, among other things, is you do have a sports background. Yet you also have a practicing medical background. And I think that combination sort of allows you to understand the malfunction that I have, which is this compulsive self-testing. So I'm really happy that 3 of us are here because I feel like you guys cover so much complementary ground. But maybe you could give people a little bit of background on yourself and just what you're up to these days.
Yeah, well, I mean, just as you said, we'll henceforth refer to me as Justin.
Okay.
For Christ's sake.
You saw Justin?
Scrooge Mick.
Yes.
Major.
No, I will refer to myself in the third person as Justin.
Perfect.
No, I mean, I have an exercise physiology background and degree. I mean, in that really, I had no agenda towards medicine. I was just kind of curious to go to college after my football career was not going to make it much further than high school.
Yeah.
But I was interested in human performance and kind of and just human experience, like what makes us alive, what makes us tick. And
true,
I love
true or
games.
false? Did you have a pull-up rack in your office?
I do. Absolutely.
There you go. Bam.
And that was
new screen device. Do you have a good doctor? Yes or no?
Yeah. That was when you showed up, you're like, yeah, that's great.
Is my doctor going to die before I do? If yes, find another doctor. Yeah.
Right. Absolutely. I actually just wanted to, study physiology. How does our body work and how can we have it perform?
Yeah.
And I actually, by the way, my 5th year of undergrad,
I was on that plan too.
Absolutely. Fantastic. That's a lot of fingers and toes. I overheard two classmates behind me, just lamenting how difficult it was to get into physical therapy school at the time. And they said, wow, it's almost as difficult as medical school. And we have all the prerequisites. And it was the first time in my mind. I'm like, you know what? I don't really want a fucking job. And I'm really interested in the human body. And so why don't I just kind of, delve into med school? And so, I looked into it, took the few remaining classes I needed to get and went into it. I had no idea. I didn't even have healthcare growing up. So
my father's
I had no
a physician,
concept of it.
my grandfather's a physician, and I was like, no way I'm going to PT school. I mean, that was like a med school, no, PT school, yes. It's so interesting.
Huh.
You just need to know one doctor. So I think I'm like, and Major's my doctor too.
Yeah, well, here we are.
Wow. Yeah, no, absolutely. That's scary.
I hope he hasn't been looking at your blood work.
True fact, he has.
No, it's all
true or false.
You guys are definitely going to live through the weekend.
More fish oil than fishes can consume.
Yeah, no. So anyway, I went through the training, but with some interest in orthopedics. But the more I got into it, the more I was still interested in sort of, okay, what makes us well? What makes us thrive? I mean, it just made the most sense. And so that's kind of when I went through, I became interested in endocrinology because I just felt that if you can kind of understand the hormone systems and how they would have such local effects on cells and global effects on kind of, directly on your physiology and secondarily on your behavior, which obviously is going to, feed back and affect your physiology. It made the most sense. And I also, became really interested in, kind of Eastern philosophy. I've always been sort of a searcher, and I felt it fascinating that, the chakras that are described in kind of, yoga culture, Ayurvedic culture, corresponded to these like nerve plexi, which are these little mini brains outside of our brain, and also these endocrine hormone glands. And so, and I came across some work from Joseph Campbell and Heinrich Zimmer where they're talking about the relational issues of the chakra, and it just made so much sense. So that was my intention, other than once I got further along in the conventional medical model, I just could not understand their black and white ideology. We're going to treat the absolute abnormal highs and the absolute abnormal lows, but this very wide range of gray that we all live and function with, we're not going to touch that. That's normal. And
if you're listening and you don't know, I mean, people may not know, but you have worked as a functional medicine doc,
correct.
Basically, let me just tell a backstory. My wife, after her second child, basically bled to death during birth and had 7 transfusions, I think.
Wow.
Jesus. Right. And, when we finally bumped into Dr. Mager, her Gillette's hematocrit was terrible. Ferritin was 0. I mean, just really, really, really low. B vitamins tanked. And it was Mager you were the physician who started to put the pieces together and taking this global approach. Right. And that's where we really became, I was always like, hey, why are we on the working mechanically as a physio at the limits of your range? Why can't you just be full human? And it was the first person I'd ever run into as a physician who said, being down at this bottom end that means you're alive. That's the RDA. What I mean? Like the minimum dose of vitamin C to keep you as a human being. That's not thriving. Yeah. And you changed my family's life. I mean, you resurrected Juliet from headaches and death and, all the gnarliness back into a full-fledged, woman. You changed so many of my friends' lives by just taking a bigger picture, which is what we've got to get people to do. I mean, that's what's so interesting.
I appreciate that. I mean, it's very humbling because I think, the more that I look into things, the more blown away at the complexity of trying to understand how all the pieces of physiology work together and how the human body works together. And to me, I think that, looking down the road, when we start leveraging the power of technology, intelligently to apply it to health and human performance, we're going to have some really incredible finds. But one thing that we had said, off camera or off recorder, I should say, is that, when we're looking at high end performance, it is so fancy and it is beautiful. It's a beautiful art form to see people perform at their highest. But I think that where humanity and where we as individuals stand to gain the most is to actually take those principles and apply it to the rest of us. You know what I mean? So whereas you got, Tim, you're out here experimenting on the fringes of physiology and what limits can you push? And Kelly, you're over here working with, really impressive, high end athletes and military and all the people that you've shared with me that you've worked with. And you're trying to get that extra 1 or 2 or 3% that's going to make a difference between a 10th place finish at the CrossFit Games, say, and a 2nd place or 1st place finish. When you can actually take those same principles and apply them to the rest of us, then you're going to see 30, 40, 50, 60% gains in function, in health, and vitality.
What's so people don't understand is that it's not this, we move the needle 1%. I read your book, really, The 4 Hour Body, legitimately, and was like, this is like reading best practice, which is so, because you basically took best practice for people, and there, I'm not eating cinnamon and doing squats in the stairwell, but you get the idea, right? But
we all have our own breed of weird, so that's my choice.
But what you did was really give people a manifesto for pulling out the big holes about, are you sleeping enough?
Yeah.
Are you more and more I realize you can't cheat your physiology. you can't deny your stress level. You can't deny your sleep. You can't deny your nutrition. You can't deny your hydration. You can't deny your movement practice. And, you really, now having written a book, it's
big book,
a big, heavy book. And we're on the second edition and 2 more.
Congratulations.
Yeah, I think.
I'm on the second page. I'm on the third.
Fourth. Be careful what you ask for with that book stuff.
Again, I keep reading it. Yeah. Yes.
When I think about the daunting task about putting people out of getting this out of the way, because, we were just talking to someone the other day, our next door neighbor who has chronic headaches, is out of shape, is French, eats a wretched diet, doesn't exercise, and she's getting Botox injections in her neck.
Yep. In her neck?
Of course.
Wait, why?
Her neck? Because the neck is causing the tight muscles causing the headache. Obviously. And I thought maybe she had turkey neck, so she was like tightening it up with the Botox. That would be, you just have to tap the bottom.
Yeah.
So, but I think the problem is that there's so much misplaced precision. And you've said, why aren't you looking at this? How are we measuring lifestyle and nutrition? You are saying, why aren't you just doing these basic things? And why can't you experiment on yourself? I think you've really given people, I think there's a tide change where people are being responsible for their own health and nutrition differently because we have access to technology.
Yep.
The QSing movement, has qualitative, self has blown open what's possible. But you really gave permission to think of I'm an N of 1.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to stop eating carbohydrates and see what happens. You have that right to just to tinker.
Absolutely.
You came in and were like, hey, we can measure that. And if you're already doing this best practice, how do you know it's best practice? Yeah. And that was what was so amazing, because you're obviously we have complex friends. I refer him to Mager. He's our, I'm like, you should really talk to what's going on, our guy. And what this has really done is saying, once you pull out the roadblocks, you may need some additional help to reset the system, the stasis. But, now we're left with, how do we deal with people who we know are going to be compromised? Your job's going to compromise you because you're just under so much stress. You're a soldier. You're not going to sleep. Now what?
Yeah. Well, that brings up, and if any of you can hear the odd talk noise, that is a senile cat that lives above me that loves playing with the Super Bowl. So there you have it. That deserves more wine. Thank you, Kelly. Justin.
Yes.
I really do want to call you Dr. Mager. It just sounds so credible, which you are, of course. So I wanted to ask you, of the common practices that you see in medicine, particularly as it pertains to blood testing or testing in general, just establishing a baseline, figuring out where you are. What are some of the tests that you think are neglected? What are some of the common, perhaps, mistakes or glaring deficits of how traditional medicine approaches testing? So you can tackle that from any direction.
Yeah, no,
I'm just trying to figure out, because there are a lot of people listening, I'm sure, who go to the doctor once a year. They get a snapshot. There's no trending. If they're in range, see you next year. That's it. You know what I mean?
The check engine oil light is not on.
Yeah.
Carry on.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
No, it is it's a huge box to open. But a couple of the things that you kind of alluded to with even as you kind of led into that is that one is that first you have to kind of, there's a psyche and an ideology of we want to judge things as good and bad. And so there's this idea that inflammation is bad. This is good. High cholesterol bad. This is good, low cholesterol good. And so one, you have to understand what blood testing actually represents. So first of all, you said the first thing, it's a snapshot. It's a moment in time, and we're not an object, we're a process. So you have to understand, not only you have to understand the context of what the person or the individual is in comparatively to,
I'm listening. I'm going to get us more.
Carry on.
More grape
beverage
extract. Yeah.
Absolutely. You know what I mean? So, say something like, there's some literature that suggests that if you have high LDL cholesterol, you can actually build more lean body mass at a quicker rate. So if you're in a strength building phase, it actually might be to your advantage to actually have that present. So you need to know context. You need to know that it is a snapshot. I actually think that it's a tragedy that testing is so damn expensive, given that technology in fields like information technology and computers has increased, exponentially at such a better price point, we need people to get many more data sets, and there are companies like Theranos that are out there trying to break that barrier down. But, so I want more testing. I want context. And then you have to understand what the marker actually represents, not just a judgment of whether it's a good or bad marker. What the hell is cholesterol? I like to ask that to physicians, especially if they're antagonizing me, about my practice methods. I say, hey, what does cholesterol do? And it's interesting because a lot of them will take a step back and they'll fumble because they're so indoctrinated into the algorithm of all I really need to do is identify high cholesterol and treat it, versus understanding what the hell, cholesterol, what purpose it serves, in the human body. So when you're asking Tim, like what markers I would look at, I mean, it's tough. I mean, I can tell you what I look at most, commonly. I'd love to hear that. I look at things like, homocysteine, which is a marker of metabolic efficiency. And conventional medicine looks at it as if it were elevated, it can increase your risk of having blood clots and strokes and heart attacks. But really there's this common cog in the human body that takes carbon units and transfers them to other molecules, whether we're building things in the body. And so the ability of the body to actually do that is called methylation. It's donating a carbon and a hydrogen. And so methionine is an essential amino acid, is a main donor. And then you have B12 and folic acid, which are vitamins that are crucial for recycling that process to keep the metabolism going efficiently. So like I look at it, and that's something where with Juliet, when we looked at her homocysteine levels, they were tremendously higher than you would want. And so then we said, okay, wait a second. Is she B12 deficient? Is she folic acid deficient? Does she have a gene variation that doesn't allow her to activate the folic acid properly? And so we went down those paths and we kind of uncovered that and sort of gave her body a break and gave it some relief and allowed it to actually catch up metabolically, which strangely enough improved things like her mood. Correct.
How about her awesomeness? We'll just put that.
Absolutely.
But you bring up, it's the first and foremost is that, you're in my education I was given a cursory.
Cheers, boys.
Cheers. Again. Go. Eye contact. Thank you.
Scandinavian here. I'll be the judge of eye contact.
I don't want bad sex for the days.
That would ruin our relationship.
Again, I had to dig and go back and sort of review. I think one of the problems is, and I think you've done a good job of this, Tim, is that you said, hey, look, if we give people better ideas, they'll make better information, they'll make better decisions. You absolutely just empower. And people don't have any of the information, which is free, which is available. And now it's easy to find. Mm-hmm. Like when you started For Our Body, it was a wasteland.
Yeah,
like when you
tough.
started it.
Super tough.
And now, if you have to honestly say that now, how many years later, so when did you start writing that book?
2008.
To 2000 now.
Yeah.
It is a completely different universe.
Different landscape.
You can go to get gluten-free magazine at the, right? Something has changed.
Oh, yes,
right? So if that's changed and people are taking fish oil, you have to educate yourself, because if you're not asking your physician or developing a relationship with your physician and hoping that they're going to initiate this conversation, you're wrong. And this is, I think, the real issue is that you've got to, it's on me to ask for some of these basics.
Oh, definitely. And I think also, and, Justin, I love your 2 cents on this, but I imagine I'm somewhat compulsive with my blood testing. I've toned it down a little bit, but I used to be like every 2 to 4 weeks. Granted, I was doing some pretty fucked up stuff to myself, but, now it's just once every 2 or 3 months. But
it doesn't kill you, it makes you stronger.
That's right. Hormesis. That's, it's kind of like Princess Bride, when that guy slowly takes small amounts of poison so that when he goes against exactly the Sicilian, when death is on the line, then you win the game. So, but how often do you feel people should, and I agree with you that it's kind of silly how expensive it still is to have proper blood testing done. And I'm actually involved with a company called Sano Intelligence, which is hopefully going to develop basically what looks like a nicotine patch that can do tracking of biomarkers and trending of biomarkers 24/7.
Amazing.
We'll see. Obviously,
sign me up.
Yeah, absolutely right. And
how do you know what you know? Honestly,
yeah.
People say diet and exercise. I love this. Greg Glassman, he's like, oh yeah? Which diet and what exercise? Fool? You know what I mean? Like, really? Right. And you mentioned something that was really latent. I think that I don't know how much you stepped on this or not, but there is a genetic component to this whole thing.
Yeah.
It turns out, wait for it, I don't process saturated fats like everyone else does.
Right. You don't?
Yeah. I can't eat bacon 5 meals a day and come out unscathed.
So wait, how did you figure this out?
Because I had my blood tested and I had some of my genes tested. And what they said was, you don't handle the saturated fats. You need a little bit less saturated fat. You should be lean paleo or lean-ish, right?
Correct. So how did you change your diet, supplements, et cetera, as a result of that?
Well, essentially, Mager put me on some niacin.
Yeah.
That I tinkered with. But
I like it just for the flush because
I don't mind the flush. People freak out about the flush. I'm like, it kind of feels, I don't mind it. Maybe I should take some more flush again. The niacin flush. You
just wait until you have menopause. It's going to be
truth.
Yeah.
What happened, was that I stopped eating as much bacon. Mm-hmm. The pieces for me, when I ran into Mager the first time.
So I thought that was an exaggeration, the bacon 5 meals a day.
No, really. It was and I stopped eating as much red meat, because all the red meat I was eating was mostly grass fed.
Yeah.
But sometimes it wasn't.
Yeah, sure.
And so I made decisions. I started eating more fish. I started eating more chicken. I started eating more, leaner things. And that has made a difference. I mean, but I was living the lie that I see so many people living where like, oh, I can live on 5 hours of sleep. Oh, really? Oh, there's not a single study where you need only 5 hours of sleep. Yeah. People are like, oh, Bill Clinton. I'm like, yeah, and he had a fucking heart attack. Like,
and plus he's a fucking android. Like, I mean, he's like, he's Bishop from Aliens. I mean, that guy.
Heart attack.
Yeah.
Both. He died.
Yeah.
We kept him alive. Stop that. You know what I mean? Like, but I think I stopped. I was traveling and not sleeping. This is interesting. I work with San Jose Sharks.
Yeah.
Right? Mike Potenza is the great strength coach there. Really integrated approach. But the Sharks have to travel. It's a hockey team. They have to travel in all the time zones. And they started working with the sleep researchers at Stanford. And Stanford, Shannon Turley and the strength conditioning there, they're doing like progressive integrated approach, which we'll bring back to something you said earlier. But the Stanford people say for every hour of time change, and all the people who are listening who are time travelers, they travel from East Coast to West Coast, it's an entire day for every hour.
Wow.
And I started taking my...
So wait, what does that mean? So if you travel 5 hours across the country...
It takes you 5 days to normalize again. That's how... Have you ever seen this study?
What if you fuck yourself? Well, fuck with yourself. Here we go. Let's have some more wine.
You can only optimize
with, like, melatonin.
Well, you can only optimize it.
Yeah.
You're still
intermittent fasting might help too.
Right. That's right. So
I'm going to come back to that, so don't forget. Or you can go for it.
Well, this is it. So how do I minimize the compromise? Which is one of the things
a lot of people are only going to be in one place for 2 days, right?
Right.
Sharks, they're bouncing all over the place.
You fly back, and now you're screwed again. Yeah. And all you have to do, you can get a blood glucose meter, which I think is the cheapest form of testing. Oh, really? You want to find out what the real truth is about your life? Go pay $12 at
Go to Walgreens and
get
yeah, exactly.
So I start taking my blood glucose, eating like a monk. Okay, I'm not going to drink wine. I'm not going to eat cookies. I'm going to but I would come back and I would be, my blood glucose would be 99 because I would just be fucked up from the travel. And I'd be like, oh, pre-diabetic. That's great. Yeah. And I'm doing everything right. And I'm pre-diabetic. And I would be pre-diabetic for like 24 to 48 hours.
Wow.
And now I have a glass of wine to unwind because that's how I'm coping with the sympathetic stress, and you can see how, I suddenly cycle into this piece. I stop sleeping more. I have to travel less because I've been able to make some changes. I sleep plus 9 hours a night.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
And everything has changed.
People always ask me, they're like, oh, you must sleep like 2 hours a night. Like, it's a waste of time. I'm like, no. I love
pounds of muscle. 10 pounds.
In what period? How long?
Since October.
That's a lot.
Yeah, I mean, literally.
You're already a pretty meaty dude. You're like one of your quads is probably my body weight, I'd guess. You know how it is.
On a weekday.
Yeah, there was a study, I think about 2 years ago now, where they calorically restricted 2 groups of individuals, and the intervention was that they allowed one group to sleep 8 hours. They restricted sleep to 5 hours in the second group. In that second, they both lost about the same amount of weight. Actually, the group that slept 5 hours a night lost like 2 kilos, and the group that slept 8 hours lost 1.9 kilos, right?
Yeah.
what they did that was more sophisticated was they did body composition.
Body comp, yeah, cool.
Group that slept 5 hours lost 60% more muscle, 50% less fat. Group that slept 8 than the group that slept 8 hours.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, there's huge, no doubt, you know what I mean? That, getting that integration time and getting that sleep and that repair and that recovery. I mean, I always use the heart as a nice example of life where people are like, wow, the heart's always working. It's beating as soon as it stops beating, you start beating, right? But no matter what the heart rate is, it maintains a 1/3 work, 2/3 rest ratio. Yeah. And so that's a great kind of thing that I think that we should bring into our lives. And it's one of those things where, I actually think that, some of the work that you started with the self-experimentation, and then when you start having the personal digital health.
Was it Neo? Was that the sleep thing?
Zeo. Oh, Zeo. Yeah, it's unfortunate they went out of business.
Yeah, Ben Rubin.
It was good. I really enjoyed that.
It was ahead of its time. What's the problem?
Yeah.
People didn't understand what goal was.
Well, right. Not to totally pull us off track, but there is no track, so there's no fault there. It's unfortunate when you have fantastic ideas and implementation that are just 2 or 3 years early.
It was 2 or 3 years early.
And as a result, it's really expensive, right? Because the componentry, especially in, say, hardware, hasn't become cheap enough. Mass adoption isn't there. Like Quantified Self, I was at the very first Quantified Self meeting, I think it was in 2008, at Kevin Kelly's house, founding editor of Wired in Pacifica, just in a living room with 20-some people and a whiteboard. And I talked about performance-enhancing drugs and freaked everybody out. It was great.
Yeah.
And it was a weird fringe thing then. It's like, but now how many people have Nike Fuel Bands? How many people have Jawbone Bands? How many people have Fitbits? And it's become a normal thing. And I remember people were asking me, they're like, when is this?
How about counting your macronutrient blocks? That's QSing.
Yeah.
I mean, just being self-aware.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, so, Zeo was a few years ahead of its time, and it just, as many are, when you're on the front line, it's like, all right, you're going to take the arrows first. You're just a couple of years early. It's just like there were MP3 players before the iPod too early. And then Jobs came in and was like, thanks for doing a lot of free R&D for us.
Right.
That looks really promising. Now we're going to kill you all.
Here's what you can do. Have a cup of coffee at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. See how your quality of your sleep is. Don't drink caffeine after, but you keep your caffeine in the morning. You can test this.
Yeah.
These are where the Zeo was a great way of actually measuring it and seeing it. The quality of your sleep sucks when you have that 4 o'clock pick me up.
Oh, definitely. And it's this is something that Seth Roberts has talked about a lot. Who's a professor emeritus from Berkeley. Have you guys ever met Seth?
No.
He's an interesting guy. He's a very, very smart guy. He wrote this diet. He wrote a book called The Shangri-La Diet, which sounds almost as bad as the 4-hour work week in terms of information,
whatever. I named Becoming a Supple Leopard because of you, motherfucker.
Oh, it's perfect. No, I like your title.
Catches in your car, you can't forget it. People are like, what's a supple leopard? I'm like, 4-hour body, bitches.
Yeah.
Seriously, that was the ethos. Thank you very much, Tim Ferriss.
You're welcome. And it's like the more like an infomercial product sounds, the more mileage you're going to get out of it. So Supple Leopard's fucking money. I like it. Where the hell was I going with all this? So
the Shangri-La diet.
That's right. So Seth noticed that if you consume calories, it could literally be sugar water, sucrose in water. If you consume calories that are disassociated from a known food, and you pinch your nose so you void the olfactory portion of it, you can inhibit your appetite by 40%. Kilocalories consumed per day. It's fucking wild shit, right? And
but how do we dissociate that in the first place?
Yeah, no. But what's so fascinating? I mean, the point that Seth has made before is that science is good at testing hypotheses. Traditional science is not good at coming up with novel ideas. And if you want to, and I think that the American public and just the global public in general, but I think especially in the U.S., in lieu of religion, has come to treat science in quotation marks as the church, the gospel.
Right. Absolutely.
And therefore they're like, oh, well, how do you know that? They have a couple of buzzwords that they can throw around, which is like, has there been a double-blind,
randomized,
placebo-controlled, blah, 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 on diet? And you're like, no, because the following 100 reasons. No one can profit from it, therefore it's hard to find funding. Secondly, it's a longitudinal study, really expensive. Thirdly, it's observational, so blah, blah, blah. They can infer but not prove, cause and effect, blah, 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 blah. So what that means is like, if you really want to figure out, like, is coffee fucking up my sleep? You have to do it yourself. It's not going to be sponsored by the government or the NIH. Sorry. It's just not going to happen. And if it's going to happen, it's going to take 5 to 10 years. So guess what? Surprise, you're responsible for your own life and you need to test it yourself. The good news is with tools, whether it's a Zeo or you could use a band that, and this is an inference obviously, but that measures movement, you can get an indication of what might be, say, deep sleep. And that's really empowering. I mean, I'm just like so excited. I cannot wait until we get to a point where you can track important biomarkers without a phlebotomist, right? Because right now it's like, that's just expensive. It's a lot of people. It's a lot of mailing.
It's not all the time. Like it's not right now, every day. You know, there's a lot of distance between the cup and the lip. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
wait, explain. This is, I like how that sounds.
Many a slip betwixt the cup and the lip. That's the joke. But like, the issue is
I've never heard that. I'm so embarrassed. I feel uncultured.
You are sitting with two doctors.
Yeah, that's true.
Even though you are the most experienced amongst us. Just that notion that if I see, I get a panel every 3 months or once a month because I'm really ahead of the curve. Mm-hmm. There's a lot that goes on. How did I manage that piece at work? I went through 2 weeks. My kid didn't sleep. You know, I think what's interesting now is we're seeing so many people, you know, come up with best practice. I'm like, are you a monk? Do you not like, I started playing around with, RestWise. Did you know Matt Weatherly White and those guys at RestWise?
Yeah. What's RestWise? I don't know.
Well, it was, they came up with a really good algorithm for, are you recovering from your workout or not?
Is this like heart variability testing?
No, HRV. They looked at SaO2, so your oxygen saturation in the morning. Because if you dipped a couple beats, then you saw inflammation in your lungs. So you could actually, if you know that question, the burning old question, we figured this out because we were watching it. I have a cold. Do I exercise or not?
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And 50% of the time you gamble and you're like, bam, I got better.
You're making a jerking up
No,
motion.
that's jerking.
That's the dice throw.
Gambling.
Okay.
I don't know how you.
Oh wow.
And 50% of the time, I exercise and I get sick. Well, it turns out that if you just track, you can get a little oxygen sensor on eBay or on Amazon for like
cheap.
$10 now.
They're so cheap.
Right? So that technology is brought down. You can, and if you dip 1 or 2 points, you're seeing inflammation in the lungs, which indicates the severity of your cold. That it's not upper respiratory, it's starting to go lower respiratory. And now you shouldn't breathe hard because you're going to blow that out. And we for athletes, we're saying, hey, don't exercise if you see this thing. And people were able to train through colds or not train through colds. But they looked at, you know, that heart rate in the morning, resting heart rate, obviously old marker, soreness, a whole bunch of things. It took like 45 seconds to kind of do the gambit. But our daughters used to come charge us in the morning and, you know, and we'd go from 0 to I'm awake. Holy shit. Like, what's going on? And my heart rate would spike every morning and I wouldn't lay there quietly taking my heart rate. And we were like, well, this is fucked. And like, so I think this is the problem. Like I ask every single professional team and I go everywhere and say, well, I'm like, do you use heart rate variability? Do you use some kind of metric of, you know, with you following Joel Jameson or someone else looking at heart rate, you know, and they're like yes or no, because it's so sophisticated, but we're getting the snapshot of a 22-year-old who went out and drinking Monster Red Bulls and, you know, and it doesn't, it's a lot of misplaced precision.
Yeah. Well,
there's a couple things that I want to comment on that you brought up. Like, well, one is that the interesting thing is that I think that one of our problems in progress, and no matter what field we're talking about, is that we assume that we know what the hell we're talking about. You know, in that we're going to perfect, you know, further. Right. Absolutely. So, you know, I mean, because you just said, you know, we wanted to look at this and observe. I mean, in all these big breakthroughs in science and medicine oftentimes are kind of these observations that are unintended. Observations. Cialis and Viagra being a huge one. Penicillin being a huge one, right? So I think that, you know, when you're talking about digital health technology or self-experimentation, the opportunity there is discovery. And when you have an N of 1, you have self-discovery. When you have 5 million N of 1s, then you have a collective discovery. And so I actually think that, like health tracking and personal health devices, I think it's actually going to be part of like the next human rights movement, where we actually get to understand and know how damaging some of the aspects of society and work and our work-life balance and all that stuff actually really impacts us. Another thing that I thought of,
nailed, 100% agree with that.
Yeah, no, and another thing that you actually bring up that I think is a good counterpoint is that I'm actually working with a individual, Sammy Inkinen, who was one of the co-founders or founders of Trulia, the real estate website.
Yeah.
And he is a really, big triathlete, and he and his wife, they actually decided that they're going to enter into the open ocean rowing race from Monterey to Hawaii, right? And they don't have open ocean experience, and then they're going to do it on a low carbohydrate diet to bring awareness to kind of like the dangers of fructose and high carbohydrates and that sort of thing. And their expedition's called Fat Chance. It's really interesting, and so, but
that's a lot to take on.
It is. No, it's amazing, and actually,
Zabriskie trained this whole last year using UCAN. This modified starch.
Yeah, super starch.
Yeah, and
I've got some UCAN over there.
These modified starches now, and not to hijack what you're saying,
no,
this is so interesting, but like people are tinkering with millions of dollars on the line.
Yeah. Right. No, absolutely. I mean, and what the one thing
I'm going to be the ass for a second. Who's Zabriskie?
Zabriskie, the track superstar. David Zabriskie, cycling badass.
Okay, cool.
But started working with Mark Sisson. Because, what we're finding is now, as you said.
Oh, he works with Mark.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
N of 1 becomes N of 500 and N of 1,000. We start to know patterns. It's about pattern recognition.
It is.
And you can't eat like a douchebag, even if you're an endurance athlete, buffering it with exercise, and all of a sudden you stop and whoop, you fall apart. Like, you have to come out unharmed at 1 rep or at 1,000,000 reps or at 1,000,000 days.
Yeah. Because
you're going to be 110. And if you end up pre-diabetic,
right,
and your 40s or 50s because you're a triathlete eating exactly what they told you to eat.
Gels 100 times.
We didn't know. Okay, how many gels do I need? Kelly,
Right.
So,
right.
This is so interesting.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So to finish with Sammy, like one of the things I really appreciate when I first met him, we were talking and he said, look, I was training for a triathlon and I started doing, heart rate variability and tracking and just really getting very comprehensive about what he was doing. And he was trying to figure out what his edge for overtraining and his training volume was. And he said at the end of like 9 months of doing all these different, basal body temperatures, morning heart rate variability, he said that what he found was the most reliable, source of information for him was when he woke up, what his instinct was. How did I feel today? And he said that was the most reliable indicator of how much he can push volume and train. And the beautiful thing about that is that, some people would say, well then look at all that bullshit of heart rate variability and stuff, which I think is a fantastic piece of information. I also think that, mental emotional states, really can influence that just as much as physiologic states like overtraining. And so it's tricky, right? But at the same time, like his journey, of looking into this led him to a heightened state of confidence in his inner compass. And like to me, I think that that's ultimately the victory, because a lot of times when I'm working with, really interesting people and high level executives and people that can kind of spend some of their resources into kind of looking and analyzing and all this technologically advanced tools and data, which is really fun. At the end of the day, what I really want to give back to people is kind of this empowerment that listen to yourself, get involved with yourself, have a high expectation for your life and for your health and for what you can achieve, and go after it. You don't need all the technology. It's good animal. It's good animal health.
Start knocking off the big ass heavy boots you're walking around because you can't hear it because you're hungover from your ambient sleep. You can't hear it because you drank 5 nights a week. You can't hear it because you haven't slept. You can't hear it because your diet is shitty and you don't move at all. You don't even have a movement practice. I think that's, you start to be able to, you really, like, if you eat like an ass, Tim, you know it. True fact.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
I get heartburn and diarrhea. And I'm not saying it's not worth it, because sometimes it's worth it. But I know what's coming down the pipe, right? Literally.
I have a dumpling evening coming tomorrow. I'm like, all right. Let me gird my loins and my GI tract. I'm ready.
Bring me my brown pants. Right.
This might be too medical, but what still fascinates me is how much, hot wings burn my lips and my asshole.
Yeah, man.
Just a little 12-hour delay.
We were having Chinese food with Georgia, and Georgia I've been weaning my
Your daughter.
onto hot food.
Now, this is 5-year-old or 8-year-old?
Yes.
Which one?
Georgia.
Can't be both.
Old.
Okay.
But both my kids are weaning into hot food. But Georgia is like, Frank's Red Hot was her gateway drug.
Yes.
It is.
And now, literally, I saw her sneak my, Belizean habanero sauce. She put a little dot on something the other day, and I was like, do I mention it? Like, I just let it go. I pretend like I didn't see it.
Yeah.
But we were having Chinese food, and I was like, Georgia, take a spoonful of this hot chili paste. And she's like, no. I was like, $20. And she's like, and I was like, $30.
And how old is this stuff?
8.
Nice.
And I was like, $50.
That's a fucking.
And
that's
she,
like a Scrooge McDuck backstroking through a fucking pool of
I
money.
know.
Yeah.
And literally, I just kept going higher and higher, and then literally, she starts to go for it. I was like, that's going to be hot twice. And she's like, what do you mean? And I was like, you've never experienced that? And I had to explain to her the Ring of Fire, and she's like, there's not a amount of money, Dad. Sorry. She walked away.
Wow, she sounds like the next Warren Buffett.
Dude,
that's
wait
an
till you see.
amazing.
I was like, what? Like,
So
there's a
she
money.
has the intelligence of Juliet.
Oh. Did you ever see that experiment that you could ascertain self-control?
Oh, with the cookies.
The cookies. Do you remember that? Did we have this conversation?
No, we didn't.
Well,
but I know
you know this experiment.
No, you should talk about it. Go for it.
So they basically,
this is amazing.
They basically said that, like, if you could delay personal
And
gratification,
success in life.
success in life,
Yeah.
you could delay personal gratification, then that really was a good measure of how you were going to do in life.
Yes.
Because I work hard towards a goal that is transient or in the future.
Yes.
And you could measure that in kids if you literally gave them a cookie and said, if you just wait, I'll give you 2 cookies. And literally, Georgia was like, how long do I have to wait to get 3 cookies? And like she was just like, she was on it. And I got bored, and I was like, all right, here's 3 cookies. And this kid is obviously like, wow, I know.
That's amazing.
It is. Yeah, that's interesting.
For men, that instinct of how you feel in the morning, people are just out of touch with really like the gut instinct. It really is true about so much. Desire to train. I'm 40 now. I just turned 40. And so much, like,
It's going to be a good decade. Congratulations.
true fact.
I turned 40 last month.
Oh, hey, there you go.
I'm nipping at your heels. I'm 36. I'm getting there.
Jesus sat under the tree for how many days? 40
40
days. Buddha sat under the tree for how many days? 40 days.
I'm
It
guessing.
wasn't the tree; it was the desert. But it turns out 40 is this purification. Like it's a serious.
I could use it. I'm
Rome
sullied.
believed that like you weren't like you. The 40s when life began. Like you lived now.
I like that
and
idea.
you could be 40. But one of the instincts. Some of the best coaches in the world. It's so interesting when you understand what the masters say. You have that that Zen koan.
Yeah.
Like when the frying pan is hot, we cook. And the coach knows when you're doing well or not well based on the day. And it doesn't matter what metric it is. It's a lifetime of pattern recognition. It's data chunking. It's all the things that we think are important. The coach says you're not moving well. We're going to back off volume. We're going to back. And that's why it's so important that people have coaches when they can do it.
Well, here's a question for you. So in your experience, and we can talk about specific to high-level athletic training, what makes a good coach in your mind? What's a good coach? What characterizes a good coach versus a mediocre coach? Or a great coach? What makes a great coach?
It's some intangible. Can you understand what you're seeing?
Yeah.
I think that's really, because a lot of people are really good at, I know some really, really talented programmers who read the studies from the 80s from the Russians.
Yeah.
But they don't know what they're seeing. And then also there's
So they're good at prescribing but not observing.
and then there's a huge psychosocial component to this whole thing. And to pull that out makes you an ass. Like,
What do you mean?
Well, if you don't know what's going on in your athlete's life and how to motivate or back off or meet the needs, like, if you're a good therapist, you immediately match the posture and position of your patients.
Yeah.
And like, so if someone comes in and talk, I'm up like this. And if someone comes in with, I really will match their affect and tone pattern and I speak very slowly or you know, I mean, and you have to relate. And literally people would peg me. I'm a big guy. I'm 6'2", 230. And people would be like, meathead. And then they'd be like, wow, I didn't realize that you could work with that 98-year-old, you know, woman. And I was like, well, it turns out I'm a person, and relating to that person is what's most important, not, you know, one size fits all. It's that coach who can motivate underneath that. How do you codify that and teach that systematically? It's tricky.
Right. Super tough.
It's a science and art. Just
100%.
Like every aspect of life has that science component. It has that art component. I mean, an hour before I came here tonight, I have a high level executive in San Francisco say, I need to stop over for 5 minutes. He comes and he describes having chest pain, you know what I mean? And we're like, you know, in the
intense 5 minutes.
Yeah, totally. You know what I mean? And it's like, and you know, and he's like, I called my cardiologist and he said, go to the ED. And I'm like, emergency department. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, that's a pretty good recommendation. You know what I mean? Like why, you know, why risk it and that sort of thing. But, you know, he's like, well, one, you know, I have a giant meeting tomorrow and like, you know, and we talked it out and that sort of thing, you know, and ultimately, you know, I still said, you know, he is in control. I mean, and it's why I like working with executives in the sense that they have a good sense of destiny and they have a lot of sense of personal responsibility. So like on one hand, and I checked in with them, I'm like, look, you know, a lot of people are in denial of what's going on. And I don't want you to be in denial, you know, and he checked in with that. But I also did say to him that, you know, one of the things that I appreciated in when I worked in the hospital, say, was that I had a sense of like instant recognition of a sick animal. So when they come in and they look sick, I'm like, okay, something is really wrong with this individual. And so then you start really kind of like digging in versus he didn't look like a sick animal. You know what I mean? And so I at least, you know, shared it with that. I didn't want to give him like, you know, false confidence, but there is an art of like knowing that's nonverbal, that's just kind of, you're just with somebody. What you just said was really cool because like, you know, I came across an Edgar Allan Poe quote, and he said that if I really want to know what another man is thinking, I fashion my face and my posture as closely as I can to what they're showing me, and I just kind of see what emotions arise. And you know people that way.
And those things are integrated systems. I mean, why shouldn't they be? You know, I mean, literally, you know, what was that great study that was like slouching causes cortisol to rise because it's a defensive, like...
It's posture.
It's a posture.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But, you know, people have forgotten that the brain exists for one reason, to move you through the environment so you can interact, feed yourself, cognition, bootstrapped on top of that. Those
Not die. Fuck things.
That's right.
I think those are two big priorities.
That's it. But that's the first piece. And then cognition is bootstrapped on top of that.
Yeah.
Feed yourself, reproduce, run away from danger, right? Not die.
Yeah.
Have lots of sex, comma. But those things are vertically integrated.
True.
You know, and so, but what's happened, you know, Daniel Coyle's book was fantastic. So
I'm sorry, say this again?
Daniel Coyle's book, Talent Code.
Oh, dude, this book has come up over and over again.
No,
I still have not read it.
Looking at skill as a biologic
Talks about like these little Russian factories for tennis players and all that.
You got to read that. You also have to read, and everyone needs to read David Epstein's The Talent Gene.
Mm-hmm. I don't know.
Brilliant. Sports Gene, maybe Sports Gene. You'll find it like really looking at this genetic component to chunking, learning.
Huge.
Huge. Like you have a skill, but like you also have an innate ability to learn a skill, right? And what makes you you.
Yeah.
If you ask my wife, like, what are my two skills? She'll say, I can mimic anyone. Mm-hmm. Which allows me to understand how you move and why you move. It really has changed my practice.
You don't want to mimic me, man. You'll flick up your hips. Anyway.
Again. And, you know, the key is, you know, like I became obsessed. I watched Lincoln and I watched Daniel Day-Lewis walk like Lincoln.
Amazing.
And I left walking like Lincoln. Walking like Daniel Day-Lewis walked like Lincoln, and I was like, that fucked him up. Like, Juliet was like, you've got to stop doing that. And I was like, that guy had these problems, and like, I was like, he lived in that weird posture.
Yeah.
You know, and then I have pattern recognition, and like being able to mimic those things really, really matters.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, actually, I was having a conversation with Dana Carvey one morning, and
Dana Carvey, like church lady?
Yeah,
Dana
like
Carvey?
church lady Dana
Nice.
Carvey. You know, and one of the cool things he said to me, and I didn't really, he's like, we were talking about his impersonations. He's like,
He's insane.
yeah, he goes, really, you gotta it's pattern recognition. And so he like broke into talking to me from the voice of Barack Obama. And he was just having a conversation with me, just following the intonations and the ebb and flow. You know, that I'm not even going to try it.
But it's pattern recognition.
It was total pattern recognition.
Caricature drawers, same. They identify the patterns. They see the patterns. And that, I mean, I think that this is, if you can turn that on yourself a little bit, and I mean, literally, like, it's so, people are so easy to read and so transparent.
Yeah. And it's interesting because, like, you know, there's all these kind of mystical statements too, that it's like, if you know yourself, you'll know all people. And it's like, and it's that polarity, even in medicine, where, you know, we all have a unique set of circumstances. We have a unique set of genes. We have a unique set of environments. But we are overwhelmingly fundamentally human. And as soon as we kind of grasp that and find kind of like the balance point between those two, polarities, that's when you really kind of grasp the whole picture. You know what I mean? Because I used to be such a big, you know, kind of detractor of like genetics. You know what I mean? I'm like, God, it's all about gene expression and that sort of thing. And I still think that that's one of the graces of it all is that, you know, you have your genetic disposition. And by the way, there's a lot of intelligence there. In almost every gene, when people look at it, they're like, oh, that's a deficient gene. I kind of look at it like, no, how's that a survival advantage? And so if you're like ApoE genotype is one that quote unquote has the thrifty gene so that you absorb every freaking calorie you can out of fat, you know, that's through your diet.
Yeah, huge survival advantage.
It's a huge survival advantage. It's a superior gene. It just found its way into modern life where we just have so much availability.
Yeah.
Donuts! The problem. You know what I mean? Like,
the Krispy Kreme friendly gene.
So
understand it. You know,
well,
as soon as you're
let
writing-
me jump in for a second. So, this is a question I'm always fascinated by. I mean, you guys are both very world class at different but overlapping things. So Kelly talked about his sort of two unique gifts among hundreds, I'm sure.
At least three. At least three. I tricked a woman and Julia into marrying me.
Yeah,
three.
Smart move. Definitely raise the average on the offspring. So what do people consider you, or what do you consider yourself world class at? Like what are gifts? Like what makes you different from other doctors?
You know, my honest answer to that is that I am extraordinary. Extraordinary. You know what I mean? Like I feel like I came into life with a set of circumstances where, I threw myself to life to kind of help me out. You know what I mean? And I did not have an ego. I had an openness that I wanted to just kind of, I wanted to know, I wanted to survive. You know what I mean? I came from a broken home and kind of, a borderline impoverished situation.
Where did you grow up?
Pittsburgh,
Are you talking about my life or your life?
Yeah, no, absolutely. No. And you know, and I, you know, and it's one of those things where, yeah, no, I mean, I resonate with what, you know, we haven't had a long talk about that, but what I know of your life, you know, there's a lot of overlap. And I think that openness really just gave me that opportunity to have, humility, and to also have people recognize that in me. And they just shared, what was most helpful. And there was no kind of agenda where like I had a father that, you know, had this like, you know, agenda for me and expectations and that sort of thing. People just interacted with me and they just kind of shared, and they just felt that, you know, I was a comfortable person. So really like I'm not comfortable with the idea of expertise. I mean, I think that life is intelligent. We are all amazingly intelligent, and it's not so much that there's nothing that I have and bring to the table other than just a humility and an openness to it.
Kelly.
You know, tying to something you said about being coaching, I just heard, is what makes a good coach. What makes a good coach is you stop you don't make any value judgment on what a coach is doing. You try to start to solve or think of what problems the coach is trying to solve. Mm-hmm. And suddenly everyone becomes an open book. because I look your work and I'm like, what problems is Tim trying to solve? What are you trying to solve? And I start asking the why behind the cue, the why behind the methodology. What this coach has seen this set of problems and they've prescribed something. This physician has seen this set of problems, is prescribing something, and suddenly the openness is that like you can learn from everyone. You're listening, you're watching, and you're asking that behind the scene question. You'll never hear me criticize or critique a coach publicly ever, because that person is trying to solve a set of really problems that are large. I want to know what it is that they're seeing and what they're trying to prescribe. And then we start to develop best practice out of that. And that openness, I mean, I don't know how many conversations, I still am blown away. You had this offhand throwaway comment that your blood is filtered through your eyes every, how many hours?
I don't know. I mean, I would say that you filter 4 to 6 liters of fluid through your body at rest, and it goes up to 20 to 40 liters per minute.
All your blood goes to your eye.
Absolutely.
And your eye, you have to have UV, and one of the UV is a pathogen killer. And what if, you said that and I was like, holy crap. What if we're always wearing sunglasses all the time and we don't get UV? And one of the reasons you have to get UV is for vitamin D and these other problems. But, what if it was really filtering your blood through your eyes? I mean, I just think
absolutely.
But
there are treatments that people take blood out of the body and run it through UV filters and put it back into your body.
Said that, and I was like, I banned sunglasses in my house. I mean, because I was like, you started collecting these spider webs of information and trying to coalesce it into best practice. I mean, it really is like you had an idea where you're like, I can experiment myself and I can write about that. But I could start to work with these masters. I could start to establish baselines. One of the kind of themes of today has been this baseline with testing. Greg Cook is a good friend of mine. Yeah. And we have really worked hard now, and we're actually co-writing a book about establishing movement minimums.
Cool.
Baseline minimums.
I like that.
And I love his example. He's become a really dear friend, but
where is he now these days? Anyway.
Oh, he's just burning the world down in Tennessee. Trying to do more stand-up paddleboarding, and he's a genius. But one of the things that he's saying is, "Hey, look."
Also made a cameo.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
For our body. Yep.
If you can't,
as did Justin.
True facts.
Yeah.
This notion, people thought he and I were really diametrically opposed, and when he and I started talking, we were like, oh my God, we have these big problems we have to solve. If we don't collaborate and share sources, we're fools.
Yeah.
And, he's like, look, do you remember in middle school, you bent over and your gym teacher screened you?
Where's this going?
For scoliosis.
All right. I was like, I'm not sure where you went in middle school, but I was on the wrestling team and that didn't happen.
Wrestling team. Yeah. Right. So, your PE teacher was not very sophisticated, but screened you for scoliosis. Mm-hmm. Right. And the issue is why have we been so divorced from, how about this? If you're listening, if you wake up and you don't have a boner.
Right. There's a problem.
Yes or no? Yeah. 1 or 0. Boner, no boner. You know?
Right.
And what the Jungians would say, how was your dreams? Tell me about your dream. That's how they greet each other. What did you dream last night? How did you, what did you process? Yeah. Let's talk about it. And literally we should be saying to each other, did you have a boner last night? Did you wake up this morning? That's so bright line, know thyself. But if you ask that question, that's one of those data points that's so easy to know.
Binary.
Do I have a boner, yes or no?
Yeah.
Yes.
I can then backtrack and say, I was stressed, I didn't have sleep, cortisol, food, choose any one of the simple roadblocks, and I can see immediately my function. I bet if you correlate a boner to, how do you feel today?
Pretty close correlation. Yeah, 1 to 1. Yeah,
1 to 1.
Yeah, not only does that, does not only that simple
I would
kind of measure.
Actually, my sponsorship dollars go up as you say boner. So please continue. I have no sponsor.
Does it not indicate? It indicates deep sleep with good kind of growth hormone, FSH, LSH, LH release, absolutely with testosterone responsiveness, no doubt. Another interesting thing that comes to mind is that when you look at kind of the class of drugs like Viagra, Levitra, Cialis that help with erectile dysfunction for people, if you look at the medical literature, it says it's most effective in psychogenic causes of erectile dysfunction. And then when you look at kind of what the hell does that drug do? It preserves phosphodiesterase inhibitors. And when you look at kind of other animal models where they say like, the waterboarding equivalent for rats is to kind of let them swim around in a fucking bucket.
Oh, fucking do exhaustion.
So in a bucket into exhaustion, right? Absolutely.
No rat boner.
No rat boner there. Absolutely. We call that rat flaccid. But
How you feeling, bro?
How you feeling, rat flaccid?
Rat flaccid. Swimming in a bucket. That really decreases their brain's phosphodiesterase. And so it's kind of really like, you had mentioned this, I think, before we started recording, where, you're really into kind of parasympathetic, sympathetic nervous system tone. And it really gets back to that. I mean, I'm really telling, to me, I'm more convinced that, the mind directly influences the physiology or indirectly influences the behavior patterns. But it's really all about kind of understanding, how your nervous system kind of interacts with your physiology. And you gotta get on there.
You said parasympathetic, sympathetic tone. Let's just break that down for people. When you are at rest and you're in a good homeostasis, non-threatened environment, when you breathe in, for example, your heart rate accelerates. When you breathe out, it decelerates.
Correct.
Right? That is a good indicator.
When you breathe in, it decelerates. When you exhale, it accelerates a little bit. Is that what you said?
No, I think I said the opposite, isn't it? Because it accelerates, you breathe in?
No, it actually slows down.
Oh, that's right. Okay, it slows down. Okay, right.
Yeah.
So that's 100% right. Because if you're trying to cheat the test at the grocery store, you hold your breath or slow. Okay, right.
Yeah.
So the problem is that people get into this state where there's no variability in their heart rate.
Right.
That's the heart rate variability in heart rate variability. That people start to fire up their adrenals. They get in this fight or flight response. They're not sleeping. They've just played a big game. They just had a big meeting.
They're cinched down.
We see people cannot go to sleep. Like, in one magazine was the Red Bull magazine. One of the best players for the All Blacks was bragging about after big games he can't fall asleep. He has to stay up playing video games all night. And I was like, red flag.
Tired and wired, right?
Oh, is that it is?
Yes.
If you have a child
where you're not releasing cortisol in the morning.
That's right. If you have a child, you know that sleep begets sleep. That a tired kid will not go to sleep and will not sleep well. And so if your kid has a crappy night's sleep, you're in for another crappy night's sleep. And it really is like sleep begets sleep. And
do you mind next time?
Sure. It's big of you. And
I'm generous.
I think what's so interesting for me is we started looking at this because I started becoming interested in it because so many of my professional athletes and my soldiers were coming back, were vampires, literally not sleeping at night. Especially, I was working with, just say the military is elite doing the scariest jobs. One of my friends deployed to Afghanistan recently, and his testosterone was 270.
Yeah.
And this is a guy who played Division I football and was in the Rose Bowl.
No androgens.
Zero.
Right. Yeah. By the way, if it's less than 300 and you're 60, it's treatment level testosterone.
Right. We want something like, was it 900? Is the upper end 800?
Wow. Absolutely. No, I mean, I think 800 to 1,000.
I'd be pretty happy with 900.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's what I've seen Olympic.
But then again, I'm having fucking 2 bottles of wine.
So
twice a week.
What's worth it? So, I'll tell you, boner, yes or no?
It's like the Krispy Kreme, yeah.
So the issue though is that, so I started looking at, well, how do I impact that? What are the ways, without having to measure it, knowing that I'm compromised because I'm under stress, because I have a newborn, because I don't sleep, because whatever. How can I? Because that's what I think what you did is you removed, for me, this is really when I respected you in a way that
you're like, I really had no respect for you up until the point.
And what I think was so great is you removed even the need from you, like it was subjective so much. Like you said, hey, go get a blood test, but you also said, this is black and white. Do you feel better? What's going on? And you just sort of removed, like, why don't you even you're compromised. Your diet is shitty. You're not exercising. Take away the roadblocks because we know you're already compromised. And this has been a real shift for my own brain. I started, last year I was in a Blue Angel jet in a shitty position. I sat in a helicopter. I jumped out of an airplane strapped to someone at, 25,000 feet. I did all these things where I was compromise. I wore body armor for 10 hours. Like, I was like, there's no way not to be compromised. So if I know I'm compromised, what then? And I think what was so great about you and is so great about your thinking is like, you basically start the assumption that you're compromised. Why don't you do these steps and start to uncompromise yourself? Because you know you're compromised. And at the very least, it may do nothing. At the very most, it may change your life.
Yeah.
Which is sort of this best practice of nutrition.
Simple self-diagnosis, right?
Right.
And it could be just a few moves. I mean, that's what I appreciate about, your teaching, whether at SF CrossFit or through the wonder of the internets, is it doesn't have to be complicated.
No.
It can be as complicated as you want to make it, but it doesn't have to be complicated. So actually, I'd be interested to ask you, like, if people are going to do a self-evaluation, this is really nice. I'm very happy with. So for those who are curious about the various clinking and so on going on, we have the Mascot 2008 from Napa Valley. This is from Will Harlan, H-A-R-L. Try that again. H-A-R-L-A-N. This is one of those edit sober. No, what is it? Right drunk, edit sober. Does not apply to podcasts, by the way. The Mascot 2008, really, really nice. And we're having a 2010 Malbec Route 40 from Mendoza. I'm a sucker for that because I lived in Argentina for so long. But in terms of movement evaluation, minimal movement, what should people look at? I mean, the basics, like the top 3 or 4. Some office dweller who spends God knows how long, 7 to 12 hours a day, seated in front of a laptop.
100% the healthcare crisis of the future. More and more research is saying that when you have a sedentary lifestyle, sit more than 8 hours a day, that's a sedentary lifestyle. That's the equivalent of like killing yourself slowly. It's smoking and jogging. The physiology is known to us. Right. That when you sit down, your leg musculature turns off.
Yeah.
Your blood glucose rises. You can see a spike just because, right? If people at home, have you ever sat on an airplane and had cankles? Have you ever had that? You got off an airplane and your ankles are swollen?
Yeah.
Well, that's not the altitude. That's because you stopped contracting any musculature in your legs when you sat. And it's the musculature contraction that drives all the lymphatic drainage of your whole system. The whole system is wired for movement. Remember that brain analogy? Right. And if you stop moving, then what ends up happening is you get stasis and congestion, which is a big problem. And for me, for the athletes, I'm like, oh, now your ankles are congested, and now your Achilles is junky, and now your feet don't.
What do you think of compression pants for flying?
No brainer.
Okay.
Wear compression socks, wear a pair of compression pants. The compression pants get hot.
They really get
It's a problem. So, very least wear some compression socks.
I have a buddy who wears a former kind of professional level rugby guy. He's just like, fuck it. He wears like shorty shorts with fucking compression pants underneath when he flies. I love it.
How much does he weigh?
He's a big dude.
Yeah,
he's
that's
like
what I'm saying. You can do whatever the fuck you want.
He's like, I don't care. Yeah, exactly.
Say something. I dare you.
He's like, he's the Hulk, yeah.
But, I think that there is a best practice so that you're going to be compromised. I look at sitting as this, it's interesting. I've worked with Esther Gokle. We've talked.
Who is that? I apologize.
She's the Gokle method. She talks about sitting.
Oh, wait a second. Yeah, of course. 8 steps to painless back or whatever.
That's right. And she really is saying, look, we've lost this. I mean, look at the Victorians. They sat upright. The Macintosh chair is at a 90-degree angle. And then in the 20s, we started slouching. It became fashionable. Furniture design reflected that. We've sort of lost this very uprightness, this integrated piece. We're doing a lot more sitting, and God forbid you're bending over. I just saw a study that adults are spending 2.5 hours a day on their smartphones in a forward flex, rounded upper back position, shoulders internally rotated, adopting that position for 2.5 hours a day. Right. And then when your shoulders impinged and you have neck pain, I'm like, go fuck yourself.
Well, exactly. That's why I need to go get a massage a week. Just working on like my pec minor and fucking internal rotation muscles.
In that
because my inverse spinatus wants to punch me in the face.
That's right. Yeah. And that is the universal posture of somebody who's just lost. You cannot, look at Wimbledon. Look at every winner. The winner cannot help but declare himself upwards and backwards.
Of course.
And the loser cannot help but declare himself forward and down in an involution. And for people to not understand that the body and the brain is one integrated unit, in the way that you treat your mobility and your body and your posture is directly influencing your physiology.
Oh yeah,
it's insane not to
that's
understand
like my biggest.
that.
Just to
Yes.
like lay down one
Yes.
point is this like Cartesian duality of mind and body is total horseshit. It's just like, look, your brain is an organ.
System.
If you want to improve, people ask me all the time, like, what smart drugs should I take? How can I improve my cognitive performance? I'm like, fix your fucking diet.
And I'm like,
it's one and the same.
Look
Like,
at your body.
yeah.
What are you
just
doing?
Like, it's the same system. So it's like, if you want to improve your thinking, you want to improve your mental performance, improve your physical performance. It is one and the same.
And it's pretty cheap and it's free. Sleeping, we've just started playing with this. All the new mattresses. So I think that modern man needs to sleep on a soft mattress, and this is going to piss people.
So tell me.
Yeah,
So
it's
I'm
against
sleeping on
what I
a
would
shitty
say.
mattress on the floor right now because I just moved into my
And how do you
place.
feel?
Let me retract one of my statements. It's not
I
a totally
like a
shitty
hard
mattress.
mattress. I need convinced.
I'm sleeping in the. I have also been taking a very hot bath in sort of a Japanese style ofuro every night and magnesium. So I've been sleeping like a prince. But I have to buy a new mattress. So tell me, what should I do?
Let's back up and talk about sleep hygiene. One is the room pitch dark. They've done studies where you can shine a laser on the back of someone's knee, and people pick it up as light. Like, you cannot have your phone in your room. You cannot have a TV in your room. It needs to be black as night. In fact, a good study just came out that showed that any light in your room can be the cause of so many problems around sleep apnea, some of this nighttime arousal problems.
Wait, nighttime arousal.
Like, you
midnight
wake up,
boners?
It's like
What are we talking
it's too
about?
bright in the room.
Yeah,
it need to be dark. It needs to be quiet. So how you know how cheap a night mask is? Like, you're sleeping in a strange hotel as an executive.
You know, I hate it. I can't find a good sleep mask. If you have a recommendation, tell me. But
No,
I have like
let me
shitty fucking airplane.
There's one that has a small one that's a cup that doesn't get in your. I've tried all.
You mean like suntan bed type of thing?
Not so tight, but there are a couple that are just a little bit smaller in a cup. Not a very obtrusive. Don't know you have it on. Earplugs. It needs to be silent in there.
Yeah, I have like 3M
And
gunshot
enjoy this.
worthy.
There's a lot of good research lately saying that you should eat your carbohydrates at night because that helps boost serotonin. So if you're going to eat, you eat at night.
That's what I've been doing, honestly, because I've been having these kind of businessy whatever the fuck, and it's like you'll have something like Indian, and you're like, all right, honestly, like I'm not going to be winning any bodybuilding competitions, so it's like I'm going to have some brown rice for this because
give me some naan. Don't even go. Just say naan. You know you're naan.
So, but at night, as long as I'm basically intermittently fasting,
Al-Anon.
up until lunch, it's fine. Like,
Well, that's right. So
body fat comp.
When can you control? So we used to say, you need a big breakfast. Well, it turns out you don't need a big breakfast.
Yeah.
Maybe I like your model: protein, 30 grams of protein within 30 minutes. Like, that's changed your family's dynamic a lot.
Yeah.
You need some protein in there because you've been fasting. Maybe some fat or just fat, whatever you're doing. Bulletproof coffee. If you want to put butter in your coffee, it's up to you. Get diarrhea from the coconut oil or whatever. That's
Dude, the fucking MCTs. Tell me about MCTs in your GI. Tell me. It's a fucking... you don't want to do that right before you go to the airport. Dude. Am I right?
So what we're basically saying is if you add a bunch of coconut oil MCTs to your coffee in the morning, you're like a goose.
Meaning you're gonna shit a lot, guys.
Disaster pants. So, but the sleep piece then is, maybe some carbohydrate for dinner. Because you should probably, Mark Sisson's like, hey, just keep it around 100 grams.
Yeah.
And good luck eating 100
That guy
grams
is a
of
specimen. I
greens.
give him credit. Like, I've met up with him. Like, that guy he walks the talk.
But he also isn't freaked out. Like, he likes coffee, his little sugar in his coffee.
Yeah.
But because the rest of his life is organized around some exercise and sleeping enough, it doesn't throw the whole thing out of balance.
Yeah.
You can buffer it. We're humans of adaptation. And we confuse that adaptation ability for survivability, right? For thrivability. And I think because humans are always, I believe, always working towards thriving. Otherwise, we would have died off a long time ago. I mean, if you just care and feed the plant a little bit, give the animal a little bit extra sunlight, a little bit of food, it blossoms again. I mean, that's really what we're doing. If you upregulate, and one of the cheapest, you're spending so much of your time asleep. It should be dark. It should be a little bit cold. What I would say is,
What do you consider cold?
You set your temperature at 60s.
Okay, yeah,
I think
I'm at 64. I'm happy.
Perfect. That's
sleeping
fine.
well.
It's just not hot. But what I would say is going to bed hot fucks up your serotonin production.
unless you go into a Japanese bath or you take a hot bath so that you cool off quickly, so that your blood is raised to the surface of your skin, and then you have a rapid cooling period, and then you sleep really well.
So what's the rapid cool? What are you doing?
I am getting out of a hot bath, toweling off, and then I'll continue to sweat, and I will take a hot shower, and after that, you're fucking cold as shit because you've gone from extremely hot to extremely cold.
Okay. So this is the point, is that cooling has to happen.
Yeah.
How do you sleep in a hot environment?
Horribly.
You sleep horribly. That's the point. Yeah. So the hot bath relaxes you. It's one of the ways we figured out how to hack that nervous system. I can tap into that parasympathetic response. People can go from 0 to 60 and they pride themselves on it. Bam, I wake up, I have coffee, bam, cup of fear, right? The cup of fear, good to go, hit the go, like I can upward, but they cannot come down.
Yeah.
And we don't teach that.
Yeah.
So, this is where I've said, hey, look, develop a soft tissue practice before you go to bed at night. Turns out,
like what?
10 or 15 minutes of rolling around on a ball or rolling around on a foam roller kicks on a huge parasympathetic response. That's why I'm saying, hey, stop rolling before you exercise. Stop it. Roll after your exercise to bring you down out of that sympathetic state. If you have something that's gristly, you're not rolling. You're trying to break up gristle so you can move correctly, right? But tapping into that, work on your diaphragm, diaphragmatic breathing. Weird how it matters so much for stress regulation.
What would be, how would someone exercise that or practice that?
Get a ball before you go to bed, put it on your body, roll around on the floor for 10 minutes and see what happens. Have you ever had a massage? Yes. How do you feel after the massage? Like you want to fight someone?
No.
Your voice is so low. So this is really the piece is how do I, affect my physiology through practice, right?
Right.
And, working on, so one of the problems with sitting is that it compresses your diaphragm in that crappy position.
Yep.
And now you have bad diaphragm function, which is one of the biggest assets to your parasympathetic response turning off, right? Do you know the incidence of bladder dysfunction relative to pelvic floor dysfunction in America? It's a big problem. It's because we sit so much. So if we look at the pelvic floor, we look at the diaphragm, both diaphragms in the same chamber, which are compromised from sitting.
Yeah.
Right now we have bladder continence, which is a $1 billion industry with diapers for adults, for women.
I love diapers.
I'm kidding.
Hell yeah. Sumo, I'm looking around. I see what you're doing. But this is a lifestyle hack, and I think that's what's cheap, it's low budget, sleep better, Why aren't you hacking your sleep quality?
Yeah.
Without drugs.
Sleep's huge. I mean,
by the way, sleep train, sell me on that pillow top.
Oh, well, so.
Oh yeah, mattress and pillow. Jesus Christ, you got all. You did all this you did all this David.
And I'm out.
Yeah, you did all this.
Oh, we're out of time.
You did all this misdirection. All right,
so what I think is that most of the athletes I'm seeing, most of the people I'm seeing are extension sensitive. We sit.
Yeah.
And we're trying to exercise, and that puts us in. It means your pelvis, if it was like a funnel, you're tipping your funnel forward all the time. And that's putting a lot of stress on the joints. Imagine if I took your elbow and grabbed it and extended it, hyperextended it a whole bunch. Yeah. It would get irritated after, well, what's happening to your back?
Yeah.
So what happens is, for a lot of time, we were seeing men, particularly who had a lot of disc pathology, right? They were lifting and exercising or working in these rounded back and they were having disc problems. And we found that if we slept them in extension, we put them on a hard bed and they slept, but sleeping in a hard bed by necessity drops you into extension. People did better with flexion related injuries around their discs. But I think what's happened is we've seen a shift and people now, because they're sitting so much, their psoas is tight, iliacus is tight, QL is tight, the fascia has gotten tight.
Quadratus lumborum.
Boom.
Yeah.
And what's happening then, which we're also extension sensitive in the exercise we're doing, and what's happening then is we're extension sensitive, and what we need to do is sleep in almost like a hammock. And if I can, you should wake up in the morning feeling awesome. You shouldn't have to get into the shower and be crippled to loosen up the lower back. And I think people listening will be like, holy crap, that's me.
Yeah.
And I tell my athletes, I want you to sleep on the softest surface you can get your hands on. And that doesn't mean memory foam, because the memory foam locks you into extension.
Yeah.
It means you need to spend some time. Here's a quick test that I've developed. Ready? It's very scientific.
I'm ready.
Lay on a bed at a sleep train or wherever you're going. If you have to, on your back, if you cross your feet, your bed's too hard.
Dude, I do that every night.
Of course, because what you're doing is you're getting out of extension. Or you do the dreaded figure 4, you tuck one foot underneath the other foot, like the Heil Hitler of your legs.
Well,
you know what I'm talking about?
I'll usually do like the sole of the foot to the inside of the opposite knee.
Very, very tree pose of you.
Very tree pose.
Very, very advanced and sensitive.
That's interesting. Yeah, I need a softer bed then.
And what that would mean. What says is it means, because some people are like, no, put a pillow underneath your knee. I'm like, so you need a prop to put you into flexion in your bed? Can you see how fucked that is? Why don't you get a softer bed? But check this out.
So wait, softer bed.
Softer bed.
What should people look for? Like, how do you find a softer bed?
Doesn't matter. Whatever.
Brands,
lay on your bed.
Anything?
Lay on the bed for as long as it takes. If you have to cross your legs, it's too. You may be. Right, you should be able to sleep on the floor and not get up and be crippled. Like this is the issue. But we're not those people anymore. Yeah. We're not.
So before bed, foam roller, lacrosse ball,
10 minutes,
hip flexor.
No.
What are like the top 3?
I'm not even talking about trying to address your movement dysfunction or the mechanical problem. I'm talking about trying to kick on your parasympathetic nervous system by doing soft tissue work.
Okay, yeah.
Like a little massage before you went to bed. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
So what would you hit?
So check this out. We've talked
What's
about,
it
doesn't matter. Put the ball wherever it hurts.
Okay.
You know? I mean, really, it's that.
What are the most likely places to hurt? Piriformis, glutes?
No, I think it's more simple.
Hip flexor. Forehead.
You can tell if a tissue is normal. Well, you should see we do the softballs into the temporalis and the masseter, and people freak out. And I'm like, oh, weird, how that hurts. You've never worked on that tissue ever your whole life.
That's where I went a mouth guard.
Yeah, true.
So I used to grind my fucking face to.
Weird. So this posture of sitting forward, round your back, right? Anyone who's been on a computer knows that position. My neck is killing me. What happens is your short neck flexors pull your jaw out of position, pulls it back. And it's one of the mechanisms for all the tightness that we're seeing in the jaw. And clenching your teeth, guess what? Causes a cortisol response.
Totally.
And cue being stressed out or not. I mean, like, it literally is connected 1-to-1 that way.
Yeah.
So, you're like, oh, wear a mouth guard. That'll prevent you from grinding your own teeth down, but you're still fucking clenching your teeth at night.
Right.
Why do you need a mouth guard? Start asking the question, why? Well, it turns out I'm stressed and I sit in a shitty position and I don't do anything to manage that.
Yep.
So, well, we just got a new bed because we took our other bed up to the mountains. But all the new beds, you can get a moldable frame. It looks like a Craftmatic adjustable bed. And I hate to say it, but there was a company that was
you're ready for 40.
I'm ready.
Welcome to the show.
Cheers. I'm ready.
I don't have a boner and I sleep in a Craftmatic adjustable bed. It's great. Pass me the wine. I'll just black out. But you can raise up the feet a little bit and put yourself in the soft mattress and in a little bit slightly better position and sleep. And what ends up happening, one of the things that wakes people up is their low back. They turn on their side.
What does the first hour of your day look like? Do you have a ritual? Do you have a routine?
I sleep till 7:00 every morning. I have 2 daughters.
Yep.
We have put it on them to wake us up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So we put it on them. And then just get my kids out for school.
Okay.
That's it. Oh, by the way.
Hold on. There's more to that.
We hot tub.
In the morning?
All the girls.
What time?
6:45, 7.
Okay, so like as soon as you wake up, boom, hot tub.
And if you have access to hot, and everyone knows, hot shower, well, what's the mantra, like shit, shower, and shave? Like you're not.
I haven't heard that.
If you need to reset your whole system, shave your face, have a good one.
Wait. But it was shit, shower, and shave.
Shit, shower, and shave. Like you can change your whole life in a shit, shower, and shave.
Yep.
Yeah.
What about you, man? Justin, what is your morning routine? Do you have one?
Also, I just got it back on. Vitamix. We grind greens into a tasty. You cannot eat enough vegetables as a human being.
Dude, Vitamix is amazing.
And really, like,
have you tried? So the 2 things I've tried, I want to know what your cocktail is. Athletic greens, I like a lot. I mix that with glutamine usually in the mornings because I'm lazy, and I'm like, let me call it. Instead of laziness, I'll call it intermittent fasting.
Yeah, right.
But also mixing matcha with ice and water, just cold matcha. You like 4-barrel, I believe. Last time you tortured my hips and we were at your house, we had 4-barrel, which was very nice. What's your routine? Do you have a morning routine, Justin?
That not so rigid as much as like, I also have a soon to be 7-year-old, 5-year-old, and 2-year-old. And so it really just,
It's full house.
it is. I mean, and it's mostly waking to, one or three of the children. And I actually typically start with about 20 minutes of like play with them. And then, then I, basically will just get ready and roll into the office. So I don't have like a morning, like movement ritual that's formalized, but it's just more.
I don't think you should lift heavy weights in the morning. It's hard. You just takes way too long to be prepped for that.
Way too lazy. I feel like my pain threshold is so much higher based on all the amazing appropriated research from the Russians. Like I feel like my pain threshold is so much later in the late
Between 2 and 4 o'clock.
Yeah, well, it's the way I've looked at it is sort of God, I have to look back. I wrote about this, which is why I absolved myself from remembering it. But something like 8 to 10 hours after waking. Okay. So for me, because I wake late, I tend to find sort of like 6 to 10 p.m. is when I can lift the most.
That makes sense.
Which isn't much. I'm like benching like 85 pounds. It's pretty sweet.
How much you bench, bro?
Yeah.
It always comes back to that.
So what's, all right. So Kelly, functional movement wise, if there were one movement where you're like, you know what? I want to see if you can function as a human being.
Put your feet together.
Yep.
Squat to the ground. That's it.
Feet together, squat.
You know why? Because
now anything overhead, hands in front. Where are your hands?
Let's talk about that. You can live functionally, hands by your face, right? You might not be able to swim. Might not be able to just swim. We're talking about just one movement, squat. Put a fist between your feet, squat to the ground, feet straight, right? Mm-hmm. So it's a crucial component. We're looking at ankle flexibility. We're looking at hip flexibility. We're looking at excursions.
So it's like control. Pretend like you're a smoker in Vietnam. Go.
Exactly. Sit down, have a smoke. And literally, for me, it's the most primal piece because it speaks to how far away from you are from baseline. Can I take a poo in the woods?
Yeah.
Can I have dinner in Thailand?
Can you rest on your own frame?
Right. Oh, and how can I relate to people around a campfire? I mean, it's like so primal and it just says a lot about our function. But if people are honest, they may go weeks and months without actually squatting all the way down.
Oh, for sure.
They just don't
100%.
use it. So your body's like, don't need it. It's out of here. It's amazing. Right. That single metric alone would change.
Right.
You should be able to sit all the way down, butt to ankle, and keep your back flat.
Yeah.
Someone should be able to hand you a huge load, your back's flat, stand up. No big deal.
I mean, and not to push you this way, but like one thing that I find is a fascinating topic that I would love to hear kind of some of your thoughts on is really kind of this relationship to pain. And because I guarantee you, myself included, that if I tried to do that, fist width, squat down to the back of my ankles.
Ass to heels,
ass to heels. I'm going to experience a lot of, pain and discomfort.
Well, the pain piece is interesting. Resting state of the human being is pain-free. Shouldn't have pain. Good article in the New York Times just came out like a week ago. Basically said that adults over 55 stop reporting pain to their physicians because it's like, oh yeah, I'm always in pain. And pain is one of those biomechanical markers that we know for pathology. Unrelenting pain at night is one of the things that I'm like screaming pathology, like cancer or something insidious, right? Really gnarly. But if you're moving poorly, your body's telling you something's wrong with your mechanics if you're in pain, and you should be pain-free. If you push on a tissue, if you lay on a ball, grab a kid's ball, grab a baseball, put it somewhere, it should not hurt to compression. Anywhere in your body, you should be able to put that ball and put a lot of compression on it. If your tissues are stiff, that's not normal. It feels like beef jerky. You should be like layers of warm silk sliding over steel springs. That's our analogy. Mm-hmm. That's how your body should work, but it's not. Right now, we're sitting on our butts, we're compressing all these beautiful tissues, right? Just not normal. But if you push on something and it hurts, the tissue is stiff and telling you it's stiff because you've created a micro stretch underneath that compression. So one of the ways that we know that you're not normal is that it hurts the compression. So you should be pain free. Mm-hmm. And you can, if you move and something hurts, then that gives you information. It's testing 1 or 0, but you're getting immediate feedback that something's wrong. And the problem is we have 0 baseline from which to work. understanding what is just normal baseline movement of being a human, and B, not optimal, just baseline. Like, I could do this, and you should be able to do it cold. You don't need to warm up and prep. Do kindergartners stretch before they sprint for the monkey bars? Hang on a second, I'm doing my dynamic leg swings. Like, that's bullshit. That was the notion of supple leopard. Like, a leopard attacks and defends at full physical capacity instantaneously. It's full leopard.
Sleeps 18 hours a day, and then it goes.
But if human beings, you should have that full physical capacity also, but we're not using it, so we lose it, right? We don't know how compromised we are. You should be pain-free, and people should have a template for even taking a crack at their knee pain. If you have knee pain, you're like, what'd you do about it? They're like, I went and saw my doctor. I'm like, so you saw that your windshield wiper fluid was low, and so you went and saw your mechanic. What did the mechanic say? Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? That, why didn't you add windshield wiper fluid? And the problem is we have just disempowered people for generations. We have no idea of how to even basically do the simple maintenance.
Right. No, and what would you say between kind of like what I would call chronic stable pain versus like an acute pain? Because I think it's a big thing that comes up in my practice, where when somebody tells me that they have a joint that's in pain, or a part of their body that's in pain, I say, what happened? And if they don't have a story to me that's like, I was, kiteboarding and it kind of ripped my shoulder and now I'm in pain, I consider that kind of more of a chronic stable injury, correct?
No, I think that's wrong. I think that let me give you the examples that I sat in a surgery with a friend, John Wellborn, played in the NFL for 10 years. His knee looked like a garbage dump inside. Like a good garbage dump.
Yeah.
Like no ACL, moon rocks floating in the fluid, like stalagmites, stalactites, like literally like bloody cortical bone showing.
Yeah.
And bleeding into the joint space. Like the worst knee you can imagine, right? Just so gross. No knee pain. And what I think people forget is how robust the engineering is. Your iPad, you fracture and shatter the glass in the iPad still works. And that's what your body is. It doesn't work. It's a pain in the butt to negotiate that, But there's so much, if a horse gets a cold, you put the horse down, right? It's so touch and go. You lose a lung, you still climb Everest. True fact, right? That's actually been done.
You like this true fact thing?
True fact.
I like it.
It's my because it's not a fact. It's a true fact. Big difference. And I think what we're seeing is, I think people have blown through their genetic inheritance, this tolerance for eating terribly for generations, for decades, and then all of a sudden being diabetic or moving a certain way because you're set up to be able to reproduce quick, and your body's got your back over and over and over and over again. And all of a sudden you've worn a hole in your kneecap, but you're 27 and a runner, and your physician's like, hey, you should maybe stop running. And you're like, you can't control me. You're the worst doctor ever. And the doctor is saying something so reasonable. She's saying, you've worn a hole in a bone that's designed to be 110 years old. Something's wrong. And I think pain is the same way. Sometimes we have people who have, bad arthritis, but I clean up their movement pattern. And a lot of times what people don't realize is, remember, that brain piece is that movement and pain are the same pathways in the brain. And I could be wrong, but I think it's the DCML pathway. Bust me. Dorsal columnar medial lemniscus. Man, I went to grad school.
I'll take it. I can't.
I could be wrong.
Got me.
But the problem is that
one acronym too much for two of us.
Someone will. The issue is that when you injure yourself, you shake it out, right? Because the movement blocks the pain. Yeah. And you can see this on YouTube. People get
absolutely.
hurt. People get hurt and they run away. Ow, ow, and then run, right? Because the running blocks the pain signal, right?
Well, it's like when I fucked up my thoracic spine, I had this doctor. There were a bunch of issues with him, but he worked with a bunch of hockey teams. Anyway, he started tapping my trap, and he's like, hey, can you feel your pain? And I was like, no, that's really interesting. And he's like, yeah, exactly. He's like, all right, so let me then proceed to prescribe you a bunch of fucking unnecessary temporary drugs. But it's amazing how much that movement or even palpitation masks pain.
That's right. And so what we know about with chronic pain people, I'm like, well, you have pain during the day? No, what happened? I laid down in bed. And at 1 a.m, woke up and my shoulder was throbbing. I'm like, well, what happened in bed? What happened was that you stopped moving and your brain got the full impact of your pain sensation.
Gotcha.
Right. So one of the aspects of this is, if we movement and pain get mapped. So if something's going on painfully for over 2 months, over a month, it's a chronic pain state, chronic pain condition, and your brain starts to map the pain pathway with the movement motor pathway, and those become conjoined. So Yonda started talking about this, and one of the ways that we're able to help people get out of chronic pain is to give them a new motor program, i.e., you don't squat with your knees in. You move differently, and your brain recognizes. It's so sophisticated. If we continue the iPad analogy, if you need to know how the iPad swipes on and swipes off.
Right.
You don't need to know how the touchscreen interfaces with the software. That's already happening underneath.
Right.
You need to know how to turn things on and off. So if we can give people a brand new motor pathway, i.e., you squat a little more efficiently, maybe I get you off that hot piece of bone, and maybe I also put the needle down in a brand new motor pathway that is pain-free. And because that boded well for us. I mean, it's one of those survival instincts that if you're moving poorly, then your brain starts to remember, oh, you got injured this. Even though the noxious stimuli is gone, every time you move, you still get the pain sensation. Right? This is the chronic pain conundrum. And so what we do is we burn out people's nerve roots. Right? We do radio frequency ablation. We put them on.
What is radio frequency ablation?
They basically go in and
sounds intense.
And they fry out with radio frequencies, like radio waves. They burn the nerves of people's backs.
Right.
And then they're on.
So you're just like, let's turn these off.
Let's turn them off. Let's pull the cords out. Because it's obvious we don't know how to help you. Remember, your physician, and remember, I'm at drinking wine with a physician. Your physician is on your side. And this is what people have forgotten. The physician is working to the best of their understanding.
However, they also have a defensive medical practice, oftentimes due to the litigious nature of the United States legal system, I would imagine.
Right.
I mean, maybe you can comment on this. It's just like, how much are physicians hamstrung from doing what they know is best because they fear some type of blowback?
You can answer that, but how is a physician supposed to treat you in 10 minutes or 15 minutes?
Well, right.
And you have carried your bullshit into the physician's office.
Right.
I don't sleep. I move like shit. I don't exercise. I'm stressed out. My knee hurts. Stop.
Right. No, and I would say there's a trained cynicism that happens over time where you don't believe that people are going to be willing and open and empowered to change. And so you just end up like managing who they are. You know what I mean? And so like one of my big questions to you is basically like, is helping people to understand that there's a pain of injury and there's a pain of transition. You know what I mean? So when like one of your coaches, like, Diane Foods, who I work with, when she teaches me new moves or proper biomechanics, 1 or 2 or 3 days later, I'm like, holy shit, some of these muscles that I've never used properly before are
so
like
explain
really
Diane
talking to me.
So I'll let Justin give the outsiders insight.
Well, I mean, Diane Fu is an Olympic lifting, subject material expert. And so she teaches me how
snatch,
to move,
clean and jerk.
And exercise.
Okay.
Diane's a coach at our gym.
Yes.
And is the best Olympic lifting thinking in the country right now, in the world right now.
She's very smart.
But also because she can coach kids up to elderly, and she knows how to scale up and down, and yet she's, working to limits.
So what's up with CrossFitters and tattoos? I have to ask.
So you've seen Diane.
I'm more just a tattoo on a thruster, okay, bro?
Thruster. I like that. I'm going to put that on my fucking LinkedIn, my LinkedIn profile.
Our new phrase now. Our new phrase is not how much you bench. It's, do you think you can do a double body with thruster?
Oh, yeah.
You just bring it up. Is it that you're going to be sore? That's
right.
Okay.
Right.
People are so disassociated from their bodies that they can't make a correlation between I ate something and I feel like shit.
Yeah.
With I moved and I'm sore and that's okay versus I'm hurting. They just don't have. It's all clumped into one thing. You know?
No, my own personal story was like, strangely enough, like roped into a flag football league by Bob Weir, guitarist of the Grateful Dead, as insane as that sounds.
As that happens.
As it happens, I sprained my left knee, you know what I mean? And from that, it just created a series of like musculoskeletal.
Let me ask you a serious question.
Yes.
Why did you think you were prepared? What had you prepared to play flag football?
No, it was.
I'm a doctor. Let's do this.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. And that left knee injury reduced my range of motion, which converted over to my right knee, lost its range of motion without pain, and created this entire like pain cycle where I became like the Tin Man, and I was like basically trying to rehab myself and doing some things, but I basically, came to Jesus and said, look, I'm going to go down to Kelly's gym and I'm going to like get some help, and basically, when I started working with Diane, she just basically started teaching me proper biomechanics of fundamental movements, which included these Olympic and powerlifting moves, right?
Yeah, that's right. And what people don't understand is that if you drill down on the technique of any sport, it's the best expression of physiology. Coaches have hacked this from the other side. They know how to get the best out of their athletes, for longevity, for performance, based on what's the best expression of human beings.
Yes.
And I think that's the global. Of course, there's some shortcuts. NC2A is a great example of throwing kids on the bonfire because there's another kid coming in, right? I mean, that's exactly what we're seeing in the
Pretty
world.
amazing business model.
It's amazing.
We'll pay you nothing.
Or the Army, right?
No, and you can extend that to professional sports too.
100%.
You know what? We're gonna put these professional athletes and we're gonna pump them up with all these catabolic agents like prednisone and anti-inflammatories and let them go out there and ruin their bodies.
That's the crazy thing,
compete.
not to like get into really controversial territory, but I'm just astonished by how vilified anabolics are. And then you have people taking cortisone injections every single match they play.
Oh no, they don't.
In the French Open,
they don't get cortisone injections in the NFL anymore because
no.
People
Tennis.
I know, but people demonified the needle, so now it's oral. And I'm like, oh great.
Oh, that's better.
Less effective.
Thank you, liver.
No. I mean, if any athlete is out there, like I've been waiting all along for like players associations to kind of actually stand up for that same thing. It's like nobody bats an eye about putting a compromised athlete with some type of analgesic or catabolic agent to break down their tissue to enable them to perform when nobody's allowing them the kind of technology and enhancement of science to kind of give them some anabolic support. Yeah. And I'm not saying that you don't uncheck that system and you let people just kind of take anabolics, unchecked and push the limits. I agree there has to be some limits and there has to be something to kind of monitor that. But at the same time, like when you hear somebody like Rodney Harrison from the Patriots say like, look, I'm a 36-year-old athlete and I have 22-year-olds that are coming to try to take my job. And if I'm enhancing kind of recovery and rejuvenation from this brutal sport, you guys are going to come down on me and judge me about that.
I have talked to coaches.
Think it's bullshit.
I think high-level coaches in the NFL that have athletes show up the next day after a game, primarily so they can move, so they can metabolize the Toradol.
Yeah. Oh, Jesus.
Dude, we don't want you to go out and drink after this event because you don't realize what's in your system.
Yes.
Dude,
and there's
Toradol's and
that's right. Which is a big anti-inflammatory.
Yes.
And I don't think what people realize is there's even a connection between the Toradol, the anti-inflammatories that they're giving, and the severity of the brain contact. Right? Yeah. These things go past the blood-brain barrier.
Yes.
Suddenly we start to see greater brain bleeds because of it. I mean, like, it's all matched up. I mean, like, we could go down this rabbit hole, but I mean,
right.
We are so naive about what's happening in big sport.
Right. And you have to understand that like something like corticosteroids and anti-inflammatories, they're basically designed from a survival instinct to sell the fucking long-term farm to get through the current situation.
Yeah, the trial by fire that
absolutely
could kill you.
Yeah. I mean, it's really terrible that's allowed to occur without the compensatory enhancement of recovery.
If you are listening and you go to the Football Hall of Fame speeches just last year, look at the number of coaches being crippled. Don Shula helped by 4 people across the stage to accept his award. And that's because he played football and then led this CEO lifestyle of not sleeping, culture of machoism, where he destroyed himself and now
Sitting down 16 hours a day.
The stress.
Yeah.
And the poor nutrition, and didn't support himself, to be the highest level, high stress CEO in the same environment as like, hey, we've come through, we can keep these guys alive with cortisol, and it means a disaster, and those guys are crippled. And I mean, like that. Remember, you have to come out unharmed at 1 rep or 1,000,000 reps. And we're not talking about trauma. That's an aside. Bad stuff is going to happen to you. We're just talking about the preventable disease.
Yeah. Guys, I watched Jim Harbaugh. I was like, I went to Candlestick for the last game. We had some kind of like sideline passes, and I watched Jim Harbaugh kind of hobble onto the goddamn field, and I was like, man, this is the fucking quarterback. You know what I mean? Like, how the hell? Like, what are what's the condition of the rest of these people? 10, 20 years after.
So this is just a random aside, but it's related. How does your work with high level military differ with professional athletes?
Same. We treat the military guys like high level athletes, but with less resources.
Explain.
We know they're asleep. They don't have the option of eating well all the time.
Yeah.
So my helicopter pilots come in, Apache pilots. They're just being sent out.
What pilots?
Apache pilots.
Oh, Apache. Yeah.
Apache helicopter tactic.
Yep,
right?
got it.
And I'm like, are you eating, yes or no? You know what I mean? Have you had water today? Yes or no? You know what I mean? Like A10, same thing. Like the amount of turnaround, guys are going to sit. So we look at them as having less option.
Yeah.
So I expect more from the professional athlete, and I expect that the military athlete, the high-end military athlete, right, the tactical athlete, is going to be more compromised because they have fewer support sources.
Military.
The military.
Yeah.
It's a disaster.
Oh, dude, those guys are fucking amazing. I mean, it's just like because of 4 Hour Body. I mean, I've really realized I've had interaction with 2 groups of folks that are very different but related. One is hedge fund guys. So hedge fund guys are either like Jabba the Hutt, or they're like, I'm going to do the Ironman 3 times a year, and
they all listen to you,
and I want NCT.
Yep.
So can you make me the guy from Limitless? Or, on the other hand, you have guys who are drawn to certain aspects of 4 Hour Body, like the ultra endurance chapter, particularly, that are Navy SEALs or Rangers or military guys. And I'm just fascinated and amazed by how much those guys do on so little. Cause they're like, yeah, you know what? My advantage, like, I'm good at metabolizing garbage. So, like, I can eat anything and I can go run a fucking 50-mile run. And, like, that's what makes me superior. And it's really fascinating to see.
We've run this experiment, though. So what is best practice? And the key is, my stepfather-in-law, whatever, is a engineer.
I don't know what that means, but I'm going to go with it.
But he calls it a boundary spanner, and you're a boundary spanner. And really the problem is that we have these siloed pieces of information, and people aren't looking at best practices at the community next to them because they don't think they can relate.
Yeah.
And so suddenly, if we can relate those communities, then we can start to kind of drill down on what's best practice.
Yeah.
And Dean Karnassus is a buddy.
He's close by.
Right. Such a stud. Like, a lot of it was made of, like, the fact that he, like, ordered a pizza one time at on a run. That guy eats like a monk. And then it matters less what does he need to eat. He knows during the marathons, he knows his macronutrient combinations. He's got things that don't upset his stomach, but boom, comes back to monkdom. So he controls what he can control when he can control it.
Yeah.
And then there's other times he makes the best decision available to him. So if I haven't eaten anything and the only thing I have available to me is like Otis Spunkmeyer muffin, you're going to eat the Otis Spunkmeyer muffin. You know, Eric Cressy said really well. He's a performance baseball coach.
Eric's cool dude.
He's cool.
He can deadlift like a motherfucker too.
He's a big, strong guy. We're homies. And he was like, look,
he's good at the shoulder mechanics.
Yes. Are you going, I'm going to give my kid pizza if that's the only thing I can fuel them with for the day. Mm-hmm. I'm going to make the best choice that I have. And if we just have people make the best choice with the tools they have, already we see.
Dude, I'm so happy you brought up Eric because, like, I remember I asked him some, like, 2-liner question about the deadlift, and I was like, my right sartorius is really bothering me because of blah, blah, blah. Like, how should I modify my sumo? And he sent me a fucking dissertation. It was like 10 pages long, and I was like, you know what? You have no idea how happy this makes me that you are so obsessive about lifting heavy shit off the floor.
The best coaches in the world are all talking. They're all talking.
Yeah.
And they're all comparing notes, and they're all showing each other all of their data and our practices. Because we all realize that ultimately the thing that matters is the programming. How many times a week do you need to deadlift? I don't know. That's up to you and your coach, but not how to deadlift and the problems. So people are really generous, and people are still stuck in Web 2.0. Yeah. I'm like, it's my secret sauce. That's bullshit. Right. 3.0 is people are like, here's my model, here's my methodology. If I have something proprietary, we understand. But I mean, the real thinkers and innovators are just as transparent as can be, which is exactly what.
Well, it's because the idea is worth next to nothing. It's the execution.
That's right.
Which is the hard part, which is worth everything.
That's right.
And if you have any confidence in yourself and your abilities, you don't have to hoard secrets. You share that. You know what I mean? And it's really the dynamic because there's always that continuum of growth and understanding. And so, like, why do you have to create a proprietary product? Yeah. Give it away. There's always going to be this advancement.
100%. We're seeing, it's been exciting, and the coaches that we feel like are closed-minded and, territorial, or just really that's why the 70s and the 80s happened. Shit didn't get involved. There's a real epoch right now. I keep talking about this epoch of renaissance where people are crossing boundaries. You and I, there's a physician talking to physio, talking to an entrepreneur, biohacker.
Right.
But we're all using the same language and working on the same sets of problems. How do we improve the human condition?
Right.
Simple.
Yeah, it is. I mean,
I want to be pain-free. I want to have, I want to be lucid and successful. And, I want to be functional, really functional when I'm 110.
Right.
And that's it.
Yeah. No, and what you're alluding to too is that it's the intention in the expectation is kind of the primal drive. It's like, what do we want to create? Because we've at this point in humanity, we've created all the current circumstances that we're experiencing. And so really the big question is kind of what is our expectations for ourselves individually and collectively. And we don't, it's the intention that's going to drive the questions. It's going to drive the inquiry. It's going to drive the answers. It's going to drive the investigation. And that's really what's going to actually lead us to accelerating humanity, human potential. Yeah. And that's really what's exciting to me. It's not really about what you know and what you can commandeer. It's really about the dynamic interplay of throwing this out there to all of us as individuals and having us figure this out as citizens of humanity and pulling it back and sharing and bouncing these ideas off and incubating this and seeing what the hell happens. That's what excites me. You know what I mean? And there's all kinds of possibilities there.
This is a fucking fun format. I like this. I think this is my favorite format so far.
Yeah.
I've tried a bunch of stuff with this weird podcast that I'm experimenting with. I don't want to cut us short, but I feel like we probably need some food considering that we've had 3 or 4 bottles of wine, which has been really amazing. So I'm going to close with a couple of things because I feel like we should use some calories and maybe we can do the Japanese soak. What are you most excited about these days? Kelly Starrett.
I think we're...
Starrett, that is correct.
Starrett. We can we violate the diphthong. It's not Starrett, it's Starrett. Diphthong. Bam!
Dude, diphthong. Fuck that diphthong.
Fuck the diphthong. I think... Boner. I think... we can solve some significant public health problems, and we're on the verge of being able to prevent a whole host of public health problems because the practices are getting easier. let me give you an example. Obesity, child obesity is a gigantic problem in America. You can't mandate exercise in schools. You can't do it. There's not enough PE. PE is cut. But if you had kids stand at their desks, that's it. Just stand at your desk. They burn another 50 to 100,000 calories a year.
Yeah.
Which is like 22 marathons. And suddenly take away the chairs, kids stand, and literally, they don't fidget, and we can manage this. And that's just best practice because you shouldn't sit anyway.
Yeah.
And, they do plenty of sitting outside the school. So if you just take away the chairs, suddenly watch what happens. That's the kind of social change we're going to see.
Cool.
Yeah.
What about you, Jan?
My bottom line of what I think that we have to kind of face going forward is basically this question of realizing who we are and our potential, individually and collectively. And one thing that I heard when I was in medical school that I think is a really interesting thing that impressed me was I actually came across a 1984 lecture by Tim Leary. And basically at that point what he said was that there's this entity coming along called the intranet, is what he called it. And he said that, look, it's going to connect us on a level that we haven't been connected, similar to how the Gutenberg printing press disseminated printed books and information for everybody to kind of take in by themselves. And in the development of written language actually helped humanity kind of evolve. So there's this intranet, there's this connection on a global scale, and a non-local scale that we have. And we're going to be able to share ideas and information, where we wouldn't have been able to do it. And he said that there's going to actually be, he predicted that there's going to be a lot of social unrest, that results from this. And then he said that after that, we understand how to harness that power. And to me, what I'm most interested in is how that we can all kind of come together as global citizens, start asking kind of the deeper questions of humanity and contributing to this and figuring out big answers, and accelerating kind of human potential in the human race. And, to me, that's what kind of excites me looking forward. And that spans across all kinds of avenues, political, medical, social, whatever. Let's all get together. Let's share our ideas. Let's think critically, and let's use our technology to kind of, accelerate what we can figure out and what our potential is. And I think that's what excites me.
Smart dude.
You can't have 6 toes. I'm having 6 fingers. I'm doing it.
Yeah.
Cool.
A hell of a splitter.
Well, guys, we're gonna get some food. I'll you guys some calories. I think Thai food is on the menu. I was thinking, Kelly, of force feeding you a bunch of lentils, just have legumes to give you shit from the paleo community, but I shall regress from that and be more reasonable. Kelly, where can we find out more about you, what you're up to, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? What should these billions of listeners check out? Yeah.
If you don't know where to start, we put out about 600 free videos on Mobility WOD. Mobility, WOD as in workout of the day.com. You can search it. You can search for
including me stretching my quad on a car hood like a police officer.
Well, that's right. We did that. If you dig deep enough, there's Tim deep in the day trying to take on those are public service messages, bro.
That was.
But that's where to start. So, you can't believe that if you start taking a crack at this yourself, you can fix it. You're that smart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Just where should people check you out, or what would you like to impart to these masses?
Yeah, you know what? My honest parting comment is to not check me out. Just fucking look in the mirror and check yourself out. And blood test. You know, and I like that. And, I like it. And like, you know, my aspiration is to go underground and be a ghost. But so
that will result in a lot of people Googling your name.
Absolutely,
so.
yes. But anyways, yeah, cool. You know, empower yourself. Figure it out.
All right, gentlemen, thank you so much.
Pleasure.
That was awesome. We'll get some food. Ladies and gentlemen, we will talk to you shortly. I'm soon with... Wait a second. Let me rephrase my English. Shortly, I am sure, with our next podcast. And that is brought to you courtesy of wine. Thank you very much. Good night.
If you want more of the Tim Ferriss Show, you can subscribe to the podcast on iTunes or go to 4hourblog.com.
FOURHOURBLOG.com,
where you'll find an award-winning blog, tons of audio and video interview stories with people like Warren Buffett and Mike Shinoda from Linkin Park, the books, plus much, much more. Follow Tim on Twitter. It's twitter.com/TFerriss. That's
TFERRISS.
Or on Facebook at facebook.com/Tim Ferriss. Until next time, thanks for listening.